Well, here we are again. It's October 23rd, 2024, and as many of you noticed, there's a bunch of sales coming up over in the UK in the next couple of weeks, and there are a couple in particular that I was very interested in seeing, and one of them is this sale, and I'm going to run through it because I think it's a fun auction. It's largely unreserved. This is an 84 lot auction with some great things in it. 77 of the 84 are completely unreserved, and it's the inventory and some of the personal collection of Ben Janssens. And if you don't know who Ben is, he was the director of the famous Spink & Company for a number of years before they were closed, and I think they were absorbed into Christie's. But it was one of the great long-term dealers in Europe of antiquities and rare Asian art and all kinds of great things. And he was the director for 7 or so years of TFEF, the European Fine Arts Federation show promoter. They handled shows in Maastricht in New York City and all that sort of thing. And he had his own gallery, Ben Janssens. And you know, imitation is one of the greatest forms of flattery. And I've been in touch with Ben a couple of times in the last year because items are turning up on the market. Gallery Zach had one, some other places had them, that were given fake Ben Janssens stickers and labels on them. Because his reputation is so good that people thought, well, it's like all the good dealers. You want their stickers on your objects, whether it is Spinks, where he also worked, or Jim Lally or somebody else, Shate Gallery, all of them. They're all being copied and faked these days. And Ben Janssen is sort of a weird form of flattery, is now in that category. People are copying his labels because he's closed his gallery. He's retiring. He's probably going to do a little consulting and whatnot to stay busy. He's a great resource. He's got a lot of knowledge, and he's a very nice man. I've had some very pleasant back and forths with him, and I saw this and I reached out to him and said, "Gee, you got an interesting looking sale coming up here. What, you know?" And he just said, "Yeah, it's inventory, some of my own things that were left over that he liked a great deal." And so I'm going to go through them with you because it's fun. It's an interesting auction, and there's some very nice things in here, some really sweet pieces, and in a fairly wide price range. But keep in mind that they're all unreserved. If you look down here under footnotes, this lot is to be sold at no reserve. And it's got a $100 opening bid, and it's a Jizhou leaf form bowl. And this is a nice one. A very, very a good matte black glaze. The leaf outline is excellent on it. It's crisp. It's clean. There's another view of it. It's beautifully potted. Nice conical shaped piece of pottery. Very, very lovely. £100 opening bid. Excuse me. It's all in pounds, obviously. 2,000 to 3,000 pound estimate. I think it's probably a better bowl than that. I don't know, because the market will decide, of course, as it always does. But I think the estimate on here is very reasonable, and there's no reserve, and it's $100. This is the classic sale where you register, leave bids, just leave bids, because you may get yourself a good deal. When you have unreserved auctions, don't turn up very often at the large auction houses, and when they do, you want to take advantage of them. And this was one, and then you have this Dingyao lobe stem cup and stand. This is a very nice one, and the estimate is 5,000 to 8,000 with 5,000 to 8,000 pounds with a £100 opening bid. It's a good one. It's 4.5 inches tall. It's got a very creamy glaze to it. But this has going for it is this wonderful glaze. It's a very creamy, smooth, fairly thick glaze. There's lots of little secondary decoration, the ribbing, the shaping around here. There's some it looks like roux heads down here underneath the cup. I can't, hold on a second, see if they get another view of it. Nope, they don't have it. I'd love to see what it looks like down underneath here below this rim. But it's a good looking cup and stand. And you see the stands often for sale, and sometimes you see the cups for sale. You don't always get the cup and stand together. And here they're both together with a £100 opening bid and a 5,000 to 8,000 pound estimate. I think it's a good thing. It's a really good thing. And then you have this Qingbai gourd shaped ewer over here. These are all Sung Dynasty examples. And then you have a very nice, almost clear to loon blue glazed Qingbai box. This is a really good box. The top of it has wonderful decoration on it. The glaze is very nicely finished here, stops just above the edge. It looks like it's in great condition. And then you have this very lovely Qingbai blue glazed little double gourd ewer. And what's interesting about it, it has an iron spot on it, and often people associate iron spots as only being from the Yuan dynasty. This one isn't. And then you have these creamy glazed carved dishes. These are very, very nice. These lobe dishes. Here they are, with these lotus petals floating around in circles like a pinwheel. These are beautiful, wonderful example. This is all one lot. And it has a £100 starting, £100 opening bid. It's only estimate. I think the estimate is low, frankly. I thought the estimate was rather low too. £1,000 to £1,600, I think is low for this. I think the box is probably worth $800 or $900 by itself. And I love the lobe dishes. I like the lobe dishes better than I like the double gourd piece. These are very nice pieces, and they are anywhere from let's see, the pale blue. The box, what is it? It's 4 inches in diameter, roughly 3.5 inches in diameter. The unglazed, let's see, the translucent, revealing the glaze. All these pieces are, well, they're all basically 3 to 5 inches, somewhere in that range. So it's a very typical. I was making sure one of them was unusually small or something. They're all not. They're all regular size. But it's a very nice lot. That's the point. And £100 opening bid, you could buy it. And then this really caught my eye because I like blue and white things, and I like early pieces. And this is a nice lot. This is one lot with a $100 starting price. You have this very recognizable sort of lobed body Ming jar in the center here. We've seen these before. They always seem to sell for $1,500 to $2,500 right off the bat. And then you have this very nice squared rabbit dish, Chinese, with I think this had a Zhuande mark on the bottom of it. It's not Zhuande, it's transitional, late Ming to transitional. And then you have this very nice moon dish over here on the right, the sort of export wares for the tea ceremonies and things like that. This very nice with the brown dressing on the rim with 2 kingfishers perched on a branch with the moon coming up behind them. It's a very nice lot. Let's see, the jar is 5 7/8 inches high, which is about exactly right. The dish on the right with the crane has a Chanhua mark on it, and they're all late Ming Dynasty. Some of these look like they were for the Japanese market, the square dish and this little saucer to the right. The estimate is very low. The estimate, I think, is extremely low. I'm not, the jar is worth the estimate easily by itself, $1,300 to $1,900, $100 starting bid. This lot should bring $2,500 to $3,500 pretty much all day long, but it's only got a £100 opening bid. Leave a bid. It's a great opportunity if you get it. Leave $1,000 or $2,000 on it if you want. And then you have this, a soapstone guanyin figure. This is a nice figure. It's 6 inches tall, and it's got a lacquer and pigment coating on it. Here you can see some of the gilded lacquer still on it. It's got a wonderfully polished face, nice eyes, beautiful lips and nose. There's still some red pigment on here. There's some gilding and so forth. This is a charming carving. And as I said, it measures 6 inches tall. It's probably Kangxi period from what I can see. He's dating it as just 17th or 18th centuries. Fair enough. And it's estimated at $2,600 to $3,900 US, or 2,000 to 3,000 pounds. But it's got, again, $100 opening bid. So leave a bid on it. Leave a bid, for heaven's sakes. And then over to this. This is one of the most highly valued lots on the auction, and it does have a minimum starting price of 40,000 pounds. But you have to read about what it is. This is a Mughal-style pale green jade celadon vase with its cover. And it's dated to the late Qianlong period. They're dating it as Qianlong to Beijing. I suspect it's more likely to be Qianlong period. And what's interesting about these is that these were produced, they're Mughal style, but they were produced in China for the Emperor Qianlong. The Emperor Qianlong was fascinated with Indian jade, and he actually had the studios in the palace producing Mughal style work for him. So when you see the word Mughal style, it's not a diss on the object. If it's an imperial quality one, it's as good as this one. It was probably made at the palace for the emperor, or it was made for someone in the household at least, who was a fan of this stuff. But he was a noted collector of Mughal jades. He had an enormous collection of jades that he had brought in from India and so forth. And then he liked it so much he ended up asking that they make some for him. And this is a Chinese-produced example. A very, very fine low relief carving, beautiful edges done here with the leaves, ascending leaf patterns coming down it, archaistic handles on the shoulder, roux heads, beautifully fitted top, and so forth. This is a really nice piece. It's estimated at 40 to 60,000 pounds, which is, I think, well within reason for one of these. That's $50,000 to $70,000. It's got a starting price of $40,000, but it's a very, very, very lovely example. And like I said, they're dating it as Qianlong to Beijing period, because some of them are also produced during his son's reign. But the quality of the carving to me looks more Qianlong than Beijing. So that's just my thoughts on it. But it's a beautiful, beautiful piece. And the color of the jade, that greenish jade, is very, very pretty. Very, very pretty. And then hopping along over to here, there's several of these. And if you're a gilt splash bronze collector, you want to pay attention here. I think there are 3 of them in this sale. These are all very nice ones. This one is 5 3/4 inches tall. It's dated to the 17th century, probably late Ming transitional, somewhere in there. Very, very nice gilt splash on it. Thickly cast, nice mask handles on the ends. There you go. Lion mask handles on the end, dragon mask. But the gilding on it's very, very well done. $100 opening bid, estimated at $3,000 to $5,000, which is about right for these days. But it's a $100 opening, 100-pound opening bid. So do check that out. The same thing for this. Here you have one that's got a Xuandi mark on it, also 17th century. It's got a higher estimate, $10,000 to $16,000, or 8,000 to 12,000 pounds. This is a very nice example. It measures about 6 7/8 inches wide. The gilt splashes on it are particularly attractive. They're almost patterned. Very, very effectively done. And some of them look like creatures. There's one over here on the right that looks like a seated food lion right here. It looks a little like, and some of these look like floral sprays, and they're sort of like Rorschach tests. You can look at them and see what you want to see. It's like staring at clouds. It's very interesting. It's very evocative. This is a nice bronze. It's a very, very nice bronze. There's the casting in the bottom, the seal mark in the bottom, which is apocryphal, of course, but it's a very, very lovely piece. 100-pound opening bid. And the same thing goes for this. This is a Qing example, probably 18th century, but nicely done, 2,000 to 3,000 pound estimate. But it's got these beautiful sort of knobby-kneed supports under it, and these curved flange handles and so forth. Very nicely cast, again, very pretty, in good condition, nice color, nice patina, $100 opening bid. Hopping along over to another piece. This is the whole sale is like this. It's really cool. I like it. It's always fun to see what dealers accumulate. And sometimes dealers have things. If you ask a dealer, they'll have things that they have in their inventory that is technically inventory, but it's for sale. But it's not for sale right now because the dealer wants to hang on to it for a little bit. And that happens to dealers. Dealers are human. And I got a feeling some of these pieces here stayed with Ben maybe for a little while just because he liked them. Dealers will have things in their offices that are technically inventory on a shelf in their office. Or shelf that's more private, and they want it there for a little while so they get to enjoy it. And I think sort of Ben ran his business that way, because I'm seeing a lot of things here that I think would have been very, very sellable. Some of them he did have a sale. I know they were in catalogs and whatnot, and but still, you never know. Anyway, you have this. This is a very nice gilt bronze figure seated of Arhat. It's an 18th century example, but nicely cast. Very nice casting on it. Nice facial expression. Good quality. The robes flow nicely. Oops. There we go. What happened there? And how tall is this thing? It is 5 3/4 inches high, which is about the standard for one of these. 6,000 to 8,000 pound estimate with a 100-pound opening bid. And then it's a nice thing. It's a good looking figure of an Arhat. And then you have this. There's also some other bronzes in here. I thought there's another one of another seated copper example. It's very good. Go through the bronzes. The bronzes and the metalwork. These got some very good ones in here. I think there's some opportunities there. I really do. Some good things. And in the lacquer area, he's got some very good lacquer. Ben liked lacquer. And this is a nice Tishi carved yuan, the early Ming Dynasty lacquer dish. It's fairly good size. This is 12 inches in diameter. Very nicely carved. It's an old surface. It looks pretty good to me. The carving is nice. The layering is good. And this is an early example, and it's not a Japanese knockoff. This is a nice old one. It's got a couple of bumps around the edges because of its age. This is extremely early for one of these. It's a very old one. And I got a 100-pound opening bid, 2,000 to 3,000 pound estimate. I think it's a wonderful thing. Very, very large. Would look great on a stand, hang it, and so forth. But it's an early one, and that makes it interesting. And then this is another Ming Dynasty prunus circular box. These are pretty rare, actually. It's got a 100-pound opening bid. It is Ming. Here it is. Beautiful color. Looks to be in very, very fine condition. And there you have it. Notice how thickly carved it is. This is a very thick piece of lacquerware. All this thickness. You can see how many layers of red lacquer they had to put onto this thing to get this kind of depth of carving. And it's a beautiful piece. 100-pound opening bid, $2,000 to $3,000. Again, check it out. One of the things I also wanted to mention was that underneath most of these, there's some a number of them. Not this one. This has just got some general provenance, but some of the more interesting pieces, unusual pieces, have very good write-ups under them. Always click the Read More button when you come down to these listings. Take advantage of the listing, having the object in front of you and looking it up. And there's a lot of there's some pretty good scholarly information on here about these objects in this sale. Because it's an interesting load of stuff. Then you have this, the Yuan Ming lobed oval box. Now this has a starting price of 12,000 pounds because it's marking period Imperial Qinlong. And this is a very, very rare bird for a couple of reasons. One, the shape of the box. It's got a wonderful shape to it. If I can get there we go. It's got this beautiful sort of elongated lobe shape to it with this lovely landscape scene in the middle with figures and so forth within a balustrade and rocks and all this other stuff, and very thickly carved. I want to get over to the next pictures here, see if we can get a better look. There. And if you look down here with these Greek key areas where the shadows here, they're crisply cut, you can see how thick this is. This is a very thickly lacquered box and then carved, and you can see it over here too. And that's what you see on the best boxes. You see very lots and lots and lots and lots of layer of lacquer, so they could carve through it and get some real deep relief out of it. But this box is not only deeply carved and beautifully carved, but you'll notice it goes from floral scenes here to geometric scenes here, all very thick. But the box itself is also like multiply lobed going around, and the lobing is also reflected by the framework on the top of the box. So artistically, I'm just pointing out how well put together this is. There's a mark on the bottom and so forth. And it is estimated at 12,000 to 15,000 pounds. I do not think that is all an unreasonable thing. And this is a large box too. It's 12 inches long. That's pretty good size. It's not one of these 3 or 4 inch boxes. This is a foot long. It's a big box, marking period. And the top of it has this very, very charming figural landscape scene on it. There it is. But notice the facial expressions. You can actually see the expressions of the figures and the way the pine tree is done, the gnarly bark over here, all very detailed. It's the little things you need to look at with these very good lacquer boxes to get an idea of how well done they truly were. And keep in mind that they carved all this through all these layers, this meshing here in the back, this little fence that's woven. That's all carved into the lacquer and reticulated from the back as well, so it produces its own shadow. This kind of work is just fantastic, just fantastic. At any rate, it's definitely, if you're a lacquer buyer, you really want to look at that. And I don't think 12,000 pounds is a big estimate for this. And to me, a box like this can also sell for 20 or 30,000 pounds. It's a very good box. And then this is a Yunnan type polychrome lacquered carved Buddhist lion's dish, as they did it. Qinlong period, 18th century rather. It's 5 3/4 inches, 5 3/4, 6 inches wide basically. And here you have it with the 2 colors of lacquer. Very, very attractively laid out. An unusual form. Greek key border, Buddhist lions all over it. Let's see here. Estimated at 1,000 to 1,500 pounds with a 100-pound opening bid. I think the estimate on that's low too. To me, this looks like a pretty good one. It's Qinlong period. It's not marked, but it's awfully good quality. And unusual. And this is, I told Ben when I was tuning, I said, this is one of my favorite lots in the sale. It's this very nice 9.5 inch tall Kangxi period perfumer bamboo. But the carving on this is exceptional, and the finish, there it is. If you look at this is bamboo, and if you look at how finely it looks, it almost looks like very fine wood. It looks like Huanhuali almost, the honey color, that warm color, but a beautifully carved figure. You get the fingertips all finely outlined and entered into the carving, and the bamboo trees behind it, the eyes, all of this. You go down this piece and you just see how well this is carved, and it's deeply carved right through and beautifully polished on the surface areas, and then left a little darker in the background to give it more of a three-dimensional look. And there you are, all the way down to the bottom, and notice the beautiful graining of the bamboo at the base with this, like quadruple Greek key border. Just a wonderful thing. I really like this. I truly do. It's got a £100 opening bid. It's got a $3,900 to $6,500 estimate, which is right in the range. It could bring more than that, because this is a very, very good perfumer. But the estimate, I think, is absolutely realistic, £3,000 to £5,000. But leave a bid on this thing. This is a wonderful, wonderful piece of bamboo. Beautiful. And then there's also this, a carved libation cup. We've seen these in recent months. A number of these have turned up here and there. Sometimes they're very banged up around the edges and so forth. They've had damage to them. This one looks like it's in quite good condition. There it is. And this is also a very deeply carved example. A lot of the ones you see of these in this form are not quite so, the relief work isn't quite so thick. The leaves aren't quite so thick. It lays more down against the piece. This one is very deeply carved, extremely deeply carved on all sides. There it is. And if you bring it in, you can really, really see it. There it is. And there are the little eyes from the bamboo popping through. It's very clever how the carver incorporated those. That was intentional, putting these in here like this. And beautifully done. Nice looking piece of bamboo. And the estimate is right in the range, 2,000 to 3,000. This one could bring more. The starting bid on it's 2,000, but I think that's very reasonable. They never sell for less than, it seems. If they're in any sort of good condition, they actually typically don't sell for much less than £4,000. So I think this is a perfectly reasonable proposition. It's one of the few things in the sale that has a sort of a higher starting price than $100, but perfectly good. And it came from, it's got good provenance on it. Professor Bloom, Geneva, Switzerland. Hugh Moss, dated insurance valuation dated from 1975. So Hugh Moss was involved with it, another legendary dealer. Hugh Moss was very famous for snuff bottles. And other things too, but he was a particularly big fan of snuff bottles. But he did this. And then there's this. This really caught my eye, and there wasn't a lot written about it. I don't think that maybe they know too much about it. There's a quick write-up of a couple of similar examples around here and so forth. But this is a very, very nice, probably Qianlong period, mallet-formed vase with a sort of a bluish celadon, this clair de lune ground on it with I guess it's bluish green. It's a wonderful color, with underglaze splashes like clouds coming down the side, with a relief work chimera wrapping around the neck, which we've seen on lots of Kangxi pieces, of course. But the color of this piece and the underglaze red on this fired really quite well all the way around. There's some nice pooling of glaze up in here, so you can get a sense of the color and so forth. And then they added these splashes of some underglazed pigment on here, and I wonder if it isn't a combination of, I don't know, cobalt and copper red to see what would happen. I don't know, but it measures 5 1/4 inches tall. It's a really nifty vase, very unusual. Very unusual. It's not market period, but this is a really rare bird, and I can see why a dealer would find this interesting, because it's not something you see every day. It's a very unusual one. And they mention a few other somewhat similar examples down below, and they call these lifelike porcelains, and there's a bit of a write-up on it. But there's not a lot of known examples. There was one that sold in a somewhat similar example, sold at Christie's back in 2013, about 10 years ago. But that's about it. £100 opening bid, £1,500 to £2,000 estimate. It should bring, I don't know, this should bring £3,000 or £4,000, I think. It's a pretty great looking thing, and it's unusual. If you like atypical things, this is the kind of thing you want to look at. And then over to this. This is a great painting, and it's interesting because they did some research on it. Ben probably did the research on this painting. What makes it interesting, it's the Summer Palace, obviously. And it was painted during the 19th century. But when they were looking at it, something they noticed about it was that they were trying to date the thing, and the marble boat was missing from this picture. And the only time the marble boat was missing from this lake, the lake was extended during the Qianlong reign, And the marble boat was in here that was very closely associated later on with the Empress Dowager. It was missing from around because of the sacking of the Summer Palace and the vandalism by the British and the French. The British mostly, against the Summer Palace. They destroyed the boat, and it wasn't present on the lake between about 1860 and 1890 or so. It was the only time that wasn't done. So they're theorizing that that's when this painting was done. It was done sort of in that commemoration of that period or something like that, because the boat wasn't there. But it begs the question: if the Summer Palace was sacked, why are the buildings still here? Unless they're just doing it from memory and filling it in, which is a very wouldn't be a surprising thing. But this is a wonderful painting of the Summer Palace, of the lake, and how it was viewed back in the day. Beautiful quality, beautiful colors, and you'll notice there are no people. It's just a big painting, but I think it's a great painting. I really, really do. If you're looking for, especially if you're interested in the history of the Summer Palace, this is a very, very fascinating picture, and it shows such a placid, pleasant scene with the cool blue mountains in the background and the warmth of the buildings in the foreground, and just all of this it's just so evocative. It's a really great painting, and the estimate on it I think is very, very low, £5,000 to £8,000, £100 starting bid. It's a very, very nice picture, and this is a pretty good sized one too. It is 3 feet 6 inches tall, so it's pretty big picture, and it is 70 inches wide. 70 inches wide. So this painting is just a hair under 6 feet in width. This is a big picture, but it would make a room. This thing would definitely make a room. And I think for all that artwork and all that history and interest, I think this is a very, very reasonable estimate. It's a very good thing. And there's a read more down here, and I suspect they go into the history of the palace and why it looks that way. I think that's where that information was actually. Won't open right now, but that's okay. And then the red overlay, Beijing glass Qilong bottle vase. This has a £2,000 minimum opening bid, but it's a very, very nice one. Beautiful color, 11.5 inches tall. It's a big one. It's 18th century, probably Qianlong period, but very nice color. Very nice color, yellow. And I like the chimera face here on the side. Notice I even put the eyebrows in. Very well done, beautifully done, nice detail, right up to the top. Looks to be in great condition. £2,000 to £3,000 estimate. I think that's more than reasonable. I think it should bring more than that, given the size of the thing, and it's multicolor, and it's yellow ground with red. So it could bring £3,000 to £5,000. Could bring well over the estimate. And then there's a couple of Japanese lots in here that are very nice. If you like Japanese things, you want to check these out. It's a pair of Meiji period rectangular lion plaques. And these aren't little. You think of these plaques, because there's nothing to compare them to. These plaques, you always think of being 2 or 3 inches wide, sort of small, delicate plaques to put somewhere, to collect. These are 10 inches long each. These are 10.5 inches. These are pretty big. And they're beautifully cast. Very, very nice. Front and back of the fu line from one side and then from the other. But the casting is very good. The casting and patina on these is very, very nice. They date these to the Meiji period, but beautiful quality all the way around. Very nice greenish brown patina. You can see it in this picture better. The green is starting to float through, but the curls and the tails and all this. And these, as I said, are big plaques. These are not little. Whoops. Something's going on here with their connection. There we go. Back on. £800 to £1,200 estimate, £100 opening bid. That's sort of a no-brainer. I think they're estimating them basically at $400 to $600 a plaque, which they should reach all day long. And then lastly is this. This is sort of this is a very interesting plate, not sort of interesting. I love Japanese Arita, as you all know. And this is a 17th or 18th century, early 18th century, if it is, a dish with a prancing deer running around the outside of it. Notice the center is just completely open, just completely negative space. It gives plenty of time, plenty of way for you to look up and notice the border. These very, very delicately painted flowers. They almost look like they're floating in the glaze. They're very loose. They're sort of scattered in a pattern, but a random pattern. And then you have this very stylized deer prancing along with these great big thick thighs and very skinny legs. I love how they did it. And here's another one down here, and another one. Where's the other one? Over here, and so on. There's 3 of them on here. Very, very nifty plate. And let's see, what's the diameter? It's about 11 inches or so, something like that. No, this is a big plate. Excuse me, it's 14 inches in diameter, 35 centimeters. There's no reserve on this. This is a charger. I thought it was smaller than that. It was 9 or 10 inches. It's actually 14 inches. It's a big piece of porcelain. 8 to 1,200 pound estimate, 100-pound starting bid. That is a no-brainer. The back of it has the sort of typical back with some spur marks and the Fuku mark on there. There you go. Yeah, classic late 17th, early 18th century dish. But the front of it makes me think it's more likely to be late 17th century than 18th century. That the use of that very, very light blue and the way it's painted, I think it's probably a little older than they do. Well, no, they're saying 17th or 18th century. That's fair. Yeah. Okay, there we go. 100 pounds. It's a nice sale. Anyway, go check it out. Register at Bonhams on there, and that way you don't pay if it's you don't pay a premium to bid on it through live auctioneers. And talk to them about shipping because I know a lot of you always are wondering about shipping, especially if you're here in the States. If you're in the UK, it's no problem. Swing by and pick it up yourself. But if you're in the US, talk to them about shipping. Contact some local shipping people and just get some estimates first. That's all. It isn't a big deal. The UK to US isn't a bad deal. It's not like trying to ship sometimes out of France can be very, very expensive. But England isn't too bad typically, we've found. And there are lots of shipping operations, a short hop and a jump from the auction houses. So I think you'll probably be able to get some pretty good information before the sale begins, and they'll give you some rough estimates based on sizes. And none of these pieces, other than the big painting, are particularly large anyway, so the shipping isn't going to be a big threat to your wallet. But if the big thing like the painting, though, you definitely want to get some pretty rigid pricing because it's a beautiful painting. It's worth shipping. If it costs $1,000 or $1,500 or $2,000 to ship it, pay for it. It's worth it. You'll forget about the shipping cost a year after you own it and be glad you bought it. It's not the kind of thing you regret. So anyway, those are my thoughts on it. Nice looking sale. Give it a check before the date. I'll put a link to it down below this video. It takes you right over to Bonhams and you can have a peek at it. And good luck with it. All right. Have a great week. And we've got some other stuff we're working on. We're back Friday with the regular video. And we're going to take a look at a couple of other sales that are coming up too. I'm waiting to hear from some people about some information on one sale. And we'll do a video on that as well. But there's a lot going on. Check out the UK and European sales right now. There's a lot of stuff coming up. Okay. Have a good week. Bye-bye.